Welcome to the William Hill FWA podcast. I'm here with James Olley, Chief Football Correspondent of the Evening Standard. We're looking at, we're in St Petersburg, obviously, where England have been training, and we're looking back on some of the games and looking at how the odds have shifted, because England started at 16-1, they've come into 12-1, James, on the back of that first performance. Is that fair? Do you think England have improved their chances of winning?
I think you could take everything you want from that game. If you had confidence about England, you'd look at the first 25 minutes and say that's about as well as they've played in a tournament for probably 10 or 12 years. I think if you have some concerns and negativities about them, you look at the second half, and particularly the way they kind of dropped off a bit. Obviously they made a defensive mistake and still conceded against a team that barely tried to attack them, but they found a way to win, and I think the fact that they won their opening game for the first time since 2006 is a huge positive, and it will give them momentum to go on into the tournament.
Harry Kane scored a couple of goals. We were hoping for that because he hadn't scored at a tournament, albeit just the one at the Euros. But are they a little bit too reliant? Is that a slight worry that they're too reliant on Kane to score?
Yeah, I think when you look at the chances that England created in that game, which is obviously firstly a positive in of itself, but the fact that Jesse Lingard missed a couple of terribly easy chances. Really, Raheem Sterling pretty much missed an open goal. John Stones, okay, he's a defender, but he sort of lashed at one. That sort of collective lack of composure was a bit of a problem. Luckily, the two chances that basically came Kane's way he took, and you'd have to say that his form is inextricably linked to how well England are going to do.
So as Pep Guardiola would call England the Harry Kane team, do you think that's fair?
Well, I think from an attacking perspective, some of the combination play is not just involving, in fact quite often it wasn't involving Kane, it was Lingard, Olley, really linking up very well. The wing backs getting involved, and collectively going forward they look very good. But in terms of taking the chances, if Kane does it, England have got a chance. If they don't, somebody else has really got to step forward, and you wonder who that's going to be.
So we're talking about the Harry Kane team. There's also the Cristiano Ronaldo team, Portugal, where it's half time at the moment, just in their game against Tunisia, against Morocco. But he scored again. He's got 4 now. He could be going. He's come right down in the odds. He's now favourite to be top scorer. Harry wants to keep up with him, but it looks like Cristiano's not going to go away, is he?
No, his performance against Spain was almost a complete display. He was almost a one-man team, really trying to take on the might of Spain. He's clearly picked up where he left off the other night, and he was one of the favourites going in. I think you look at quite a few of the favourites, Griezmann, Kane, Lukaku, they've all kind of got on the score sheet and got up and running. So I think for favourite backers there'll be quite a few people who are holding their tickets thinking they've got a chance here.
And in terms of the outrights, I think Germany have drifted out now because close second favourites or even joint favourites with Brazil, but they've drifted on the back of that first game, which wasn't just the defeat, but they looked so open at the back, didn't they?
They did, and I think generally speaking, it's wide open. There isn't, after the first round of matches, there isn't a team. I didn't see a single team I thought they were a cut above everybody else. Okay, Spain, you look at the quality and strength and depth they've got, they weren't able to beat Portugal. France laboured, Argentina didn't win, Brazil didn't win, Germany lost. You've got a lot of the leading protagonists who've not hit the ground running. Of course, they tend to come good when it matters, but I don't think there's anyone in that sort of first round of matches who's sort of made a statement of intent to say we're the guys to beat.
And is the first match, is it a good indicator, or is it a little bit of a false dawn? It's just get that one out of the way and then see how it develops in that group?
Well, there's always an element of nerves going into the first game. People know, and England know better than most, that if you don't win that first game, you're kind of on the back foot straight away. We saw it a bit with Egypt last night against Russia, that they, there was a sense of conservatism in their play because they knew if they conceded, suddenly they'd be facing probably going out. So it's always a balance to strike. I think you probably don't see the best of every side in that first game. I think particularly the big sides, they'll be thinking, well, the first game we ease ourselves in, if we don't lose it, basically, and then the second game we go to win, and worst case scenario on 4 points and we go from there. But I think after the second round of matches is really where what players are in top form, what teams are working cohesively together, and really who the likely winners or likely latter stage teams are going to be.
And of course, last night we saw Mo Salah. He came back, he made his debut, and he scored from the penalty spot. But he wasn't quite the player that we know. He's had that injury, and it looks like they're going home anyway, doesn't it?
Well, they need a miracle to get through now. They need Saudi Arabia to somehow turn up, which I can't see happening. It's a shame for Salah because they obviously felt he couldn't play in the first game. Give him an additional few days to try and recover to play in that second game. But I just thought, every touch of the ball he had, he was just a little bit slovenly, a little bit slow, just fractionally off his top level. And Egypt, to be fair, struggled to get the ball to him really because Russia played extremely well, I thought, and that sort of second half blitz where they just completely collapsed. Salah was a bit isolated out there, and it's just a shame for him because on his World Cup debut, their first World Cup for 28 years, he wasn't able to give his best and it wasn't 100% despite what the coach says to the contrary.
Yeah. And then finally Russia, as you say, they were good. They were good in the first game. We all thought they were terrible, and even the Russians didn't seem to think they had a chance, but they seem to be gathering momentum, and that home advantage obviously counts for a lot, doesn't it?
The headline on the Moscow Times before the start of the first game was "Doomed to fail," and aged and inexperienced. Aging and failing. It was. People talk about the English media and their negativity. Yeah. It was incredible. Something else. And speaking to a few of the Russian sort of locals here before that first game, there was absolutely no. There was excitement about the tournament coming here and having all the countries come to Russia, but in terms of the home nation's team's prospects, they were very low.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, best case they might squeeze out of the group, but I don't think, I spoke to one guy in our hotel who actually said he thought they'd lose the opening game to Saudi Arabia, and suddenly they've scored 8 in 2 games. They're playing some really good football, and it's not all about Golovin. I think I've read a lot about that team and seen them a couple of times before the tournament. Everybody's saying, well, if they're going to thrive, it's about Golovin. But actually, they've got quite a few other players who stepped up and really kind of embraced the pressure and responsibility, and they're playing with genuine quality. I worry about them a bit at the back against a better side. I think Uruguay will give them a reasonable test, and then potentially, if things go to form, they'll play Portugal or Spain in the last 16, and that's going to be a huge ask.
Yeah.
But they've got a fighting chance, which is more than many thought they would have.
And of course, it's good for the World Cup. The hosts do well because it keeps the whole enthusiasm of the country and the tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, I went to that game last night and then just was walking back down the main street here in St Petersburg, and there were car horns and flags and people cheering, and all nationalities getting involved, singing Russia and all that, and you feel like it's everywhere's the home city, if you like, where you go when the team's still in it, because the Russian fans come out and want to embrace it. When the team goes out, everybody's a little okay, this is on our doorstep, but we're no longer directly involved.
Brilliant. James, great speaking to you. Let's looking forward to the next one, and keep coming back to the William Hill FWA podcast.